Alright, what's up guys? Hey, man, not a lot has happened since like the last week, to be honest. I mean, I was like doing so much, staying up so late for the last couple of weeks trying to get my bike ready for the Homestead race, which I did. If you haven't seen that, please go check it out. That was like kind of a relief to know that I put everything back together and it worked. Except for that shift rod, which now that's good to go. All right, so I mean, like other than that, you know, it's just going back to life as normal for now. One thing I did do this week was went over to my best bud Don's place. Yo, what's up, man? So I am here to help my friend Don get his bike back together so he could do a track day. I was like, hey, we gotta go. You got a bike just sitting there. He hasn't started his bike in 2 years, but it starts. It's all good to go. One thing that I also did was I installed a tire rack in my garage. I had a space over there that was, before I just stacked my tires, you know, in a tire tower, but it actually fell over because I guess they don't stack well for a while. So I bought a cheap $35 tire rack off of Amazon and I put it on my wall. So if you remember my last video when I went to Homestead, almost everything went perfectly. I mean, as far as like, you know, how the bike ran and everything. But there was one thing that was just kind of, I guess, not working perfectly or not working quite right. And that was the clutch. Now, you know, like I was able to finish all my races. I was able to put in some pretty respectable times, but I'm pretty sure that if I didn't have these issues with the clutch, I could have done a little better. Just a quick recap, I had like no clutch free play at all, and it was really weird. So went ahead and started adjusting things. I'm pretty much all adjusted out to the max on the clutch cable on both ends, and you know, like there's still barely any play. And then the next thing I know, I go out for a session, I go out for a race, I come back in, and then there's no clutch play at all. So I'm not really sure what's going on here. I experienced also some sputtering while I was hard accelerating on some of the slower corners, like turn 8, like in second gear, just getting right back on the gas to hit that straight. The thing is something wrong with the clutch. So what I'm gonna do in this video is I'm gonna kind of show you guys how to do a clutch service. So the first thing we need to do is remove those lower fairings. Okay, so now that we got that off, what do we need to get started on this? Pretty simple. We're gonna be taking this cover off because this is where the clutch is housed. And what I need to do is take the safety wire off first. So let me go ahead and knock that out. So the manual will actually have you draining the oil and draining your coolant. I'll be honest, I've changed my clutch multiple times and I've never drained my oil. And then as far as draining the coolant, I guess they want you to do it because this coolant hose is like in the way. So you want to get it out of the way. But again, I've never done that either. So if it makes you feel better, go ahead and drain your oil and drain your coolant. But otherwise, it's not very necessary. So before we actually go ahead and start removing bolts from this cover, we want to undo the clutch cable. All right, clutch cable is off. Now, I should be able to go ahead and take all the bolts off. Okay, now that all the bolts are out, we could go ahead and kind of just massage this out. All right, so here we have is the clutch. We have the gear, the clutch puller mechanism. This is a pain to get back on, but I'll show you a little trick later on. And then you have these springs, pressure plate, and then all the fibers and metals underneath. All right, another thing is I was able to take this off without damaging or ripping apart the gasket. So that's still good to go. All right, let's go ahead and get these springs out. All right, with all the springs out, we can go ahead and remove the pressure plate, just like that. Oop, what are these? Oh my goodness. These were just sitting like right here in the clutch basket. These are the leaf springs for the slipper clutch in here. The stock slip clutch, that is. That would explain like the clutch slipping at the high RPMs for sure. How long has this been in there? That would explain absolutely everything with this clutch. Why I'm losing the free play. I don't know, actually. I can't explain why that would. The next part of it, what we're doing, you know, obviously I'm gonna have to get a new spring or springs and put them back in there. But other than that, other than like the fingers just sitting there, it doesn't look like it's too bad. I think we're good there. I think it takes a lot to damage that, so. All right, so let's go ahead and take all the plates out. So we got fibers like this, and we got metals like this. And they say you want to take them out and inspect them. If you see any weird wear, I don't see anything too bad on this fiber. It looks okay. But this, oh man, look at this. I mean, this metal is probably still okay to use, but I'm not gonna use it. I'm gonna use a new one. So what I'm gonna do is gonna take all these out, put in my drain pan like that, in the same order that they came, that they are inside the clutch. Now, you're also supposed to like measure these on the floor with the feeler gauge to see if they're warped at all. I'm not even bothered with that, to be honest. Okay, so all the plates are out, and in a second we're gonna measure the stack height, which is really simple to do. All the plates and all the fibers together, you know, and then you're just gonna measure how thick it is. And there is also a range that it should be in. So, got all my metals and fibers, gonna hold together, and then I'm gonna take my calipers and measure them all together. I am here reading 42.5. All right, the clutch height should be between 42.4 and 43 millimeters. So I am like perfectly in that range. My stack height is actually pretty good. If I really want to, I could put all of that back in there and be okay with it. But since I'm replacing my clutch anyway, because my springs are like out of spec, I'm gonna replace all that. It is pretty late here right now, 11 o'clock. So I am going to go ahead and call it a night here and wait till, you know, it's not so late to do this so I don't mess up or I don't bother my neighbors. All right, and I'm back. Now it's been 2 days since just now. Big shout out to Orlando Yamaha Kawasaki, Scott from the parts department. Thank you for getting me hooked up with these parts sooner rather than later. That way I can finish up this video. So, what did I get? Got the Y spring. This is how it should look. And I also got the clutch plate kit. Now this is the whole thing, includes all the metals, all the fibers, and all the springs. One thing I didn't show you, this nut is a 41 millimeter socket. I have this universal clutch tool in place holding the clutch basket because if it's not there, it just spins. I've already broke that loose. So yeah, let's get this out and back in. All right, that's done. Those springs are in. I have 3 fingers on the spring again. That should be good to go. I'm going to get all of these fibers out and arrange them in the correct order. All right, so I got all the fibers unpackaged. I'm gonna unpackage this as needed. So there is an order to this. You have one that has, I don't know if you can see, there's gonna be a brown marking on one of the tabs, one with a purple marking on all the tabs, and then the rest of them have black markings on one of the tabs, one of the indexes. You wanna make sure that these are arranged in the correct order, and according to the manual, first one is the purple painting. So let's go ahead and set that down. All right, and then it's just an alternating set of metals to the fibers. Now, in the kit, you have one that's, I think, thinner. This one with a different part number, I think it's thinner than the rest of these. So pay attention to that. Make sure that all the part numbers make sense or match up. So I have my purple. I'm gonna set this down. This is gonna go all the way back in the bike towards the engine. Gonna take this metal. I'm gonna set it down. Now, the metal has a smooth side and a rough side. According to some people will say that you need the smooth side out for some reason. Other people will say you need the rough side out. One guy I trust, which is Greg Melka, he says rough side out. There's a certain theory to it. I'll take his word for it. And then I'm going to take one of the ones with the black, set that down, and then continue on with this, alternating metals to fibers until we get to the last couple, and then we will measure the stack height. I used all of the standard size plates, which was all the 2 millimeter thick, I think, is this part number. Can you see it? So the total width of the friction plates with the clutch plates should be 42.4 to 43. So this might be a little too thick. This other one with a different size, that's going to be the last metal. Ah, there we go, 42.77. We are good to go. Okay, all right, so now what we need to do is get these in the bike. I am going to just pour oil over each and every one of them, or dip them in oil, and I'm gonna put them in. There is a lot of people who say that you need to soak all of this for like hours. Like 3 hours minimum, overnight if possible, even 24 hours. You know, I don't know. I don't think, there's a lot of racers that don't do that, and they turn out completely fine. Either way, I ain't got time for that. I am gonna go ahead and just dip these in oil and then install them, and then away we go. So down the last fiber, and still can oil like everything else, but instead of putting it the same as every other plate, you want to offset it by 1. Now that we got all the friction plates in, we are gonna move on to, oh snap. All right guys, be careful. These little things, do not lose them. Very important. On your pressure plate, you see there's an arrow right here, and a dot. Those dots have to match up with the dots like right here, here, and here. Or one of them at least. You see how that dot lines up? Just like that. Okay, clutch puller. Through here, and then it goes on here. All right, one by one. You want to tighten these springs down in a star pattern to make sure that they're seated evenly, so the push plate's seated evenly. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or something to that effect. Okay, all of those are just hand tight at the moment. Don't want to over tighten these. You want to make sure that they're torque to spec. And the spec is 8.7 foot-pounds. So I got a smaller torque wrench here, and I'm set it to 104.4 inch-pounds. And remember, this is going to be tightened in a star pattern. So start here. The kit came with a clutch cover, like gasket. However, my gasket's still good to go, so I'm gonna keep it, I guess. So here's the trick with that case. Because this thing doesn't want to stay up on its own, and sometimes when you press on it, it'll start to turn, and then it won't fit into that groove, that hole in there that it needs to. I use this, which is a magnetic tool catcher. So the trick here is, first off, we want to get this lined up. Got it. And then what I could do from here, yeah. All right, so at this point, we're going to start putting in our bolts. So now that we got our bolts in there, they're only hand tight at the moment. I'm gonna go ahead and torque them down later to whatever spec it is. But in any case, this is not the right alignment. Get the circlip off. All right, so you can take this off, I think. Yes. And then we could find out where it is that we want it. We want to get it so that like when it's when it's in this position right here, that this dot lines up with that arrow. And then we could just get the spring on there, get the washer and circlip back on there, and then we're set. All right, and then what we want to do is make sure to get the clutch cable on and adjust the free play to make sure it's correct. That is actually pretty good. About a nickel's width. So I think I'm set here. That should hopefully fix a ton of issues. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you found it useful. If you watched this far, why not? Just come on, just give me a like. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I would really appreciate that. Comment below, let me know if there's any tips or tricks that you have to do clutch services, or if you have any suggestions for future videos. Well, with that said, I'll see you in the next one. Dang it. Forgot the clutch puller.